Usually when we talk about being, truly profoundly happy, there's always some kind of catch.
Right, or at least a specific reason for it.
Exactly. You fall in love, or you get a massive promotion, or maybe, uh, I don't know, you win the lottery. Happiness is treated like a reaction.
Yeah, a byproduct of external events.
Like we are almost conditioned to believe that we have to acquire something or achieve something to trigger that feeling. But what if that entire transactional model of happiness is just, well, fundamentally flawed?
And that assumption is exactly what gets totally dismantled when you look at the source material we are unpacking today.
Right.
It introduces this wild concept of unreasonable happiness.
I love that phrase.
Yeah, it's the idea that you can wake up every single morning completely thrilled to be alive, and not because of a new romance or a vacation, but just as a permanent baseline state of being.
Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. Because today we are exploring a highly specific, custom-tailored topic just for you, the listener.
We really are.
We are analyzing a 1989 manual. It's titled Introduction to Kundalini Yoga, and it was compiled by Guratan Kaur Khalsa and Anne-Marie Maxwell.
And it's based entirely on the teachings of Yogi Bhajan.
Exactly. And our goal here is to decode this text not as like a physical stretching routine,
Yeah.
because I think that's how a lot of us in the West view yoga.
Oh, absolutely. Just flexibility and breathing.
Right. But we're looking at it as a precise, mechanical, scientific technology that is literally designed to unlock human potential.
We are looking for the ultimate shortcut to feeling happy, healthy, and completely in control of your reality.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to really appreciate what we're looking at with this manual, we have to understand the sheer scale of its historical context.
Right, because this is definitely not some fitness trend from the 80s.
No, not at all.
According to the text, Kundalini is a 50 to 70,000-year-old science, which is just staggering.
It's ancient.
It was developed by these rishis in India and Tibet who basically systematically tested the human body over millennia.
Right, like they were experimenting on themselves.
Exactly. They wanted to see exactly which movements and which specific sounds and with breathing patterns produced highly specific altered states of consciousness.
And for thousands of years, this was a closely guarded secret.
Oh yeah, totally locked down. It was passed down verbally from a master to a single rigorously tested student.
The student who might spend, 12 years just trying to master one single meditation?
Yeah, 12 years on one meditation, and now anyone can read it in a spiral-bound book.
Or listen to a deep dive about it while driving to work.
Exactly. That is a massive paradigm shift. What this manual really represents is the literal democratization of spirituality.
I mean, for the first time in planetary history, these precise physical and mental tools are accessible to anyone.
Regardless of your status or background, you don't have to climb a remote mountain to find a guru to prove your worth anymore.
Right. The test today is simply having the grit and willpower to actually use the technology.
Yeah, the technology that is sitting right in front of you in your own living room.
Okay, so before we can get into the how of this technology, we really need to understand the what.
The energy itself.
Right. The text calls this energy Kundalini, which translates to the uncoiling of the being. But it's described in such a specific, almost anatomical way.
It is very precise.
But what exactly is this energy we are trying to access?
Well, the manual describes Kundalini as a dormant power, a Shakti, and it is physically located, at least according to this tradition, coiled 3.5 times at the base of the spine.
In an area they call the Muladhara.
Right. And the ultimate goal of this entire practice is to awaken that sleeping energy. You want it to travel up the central channel of the spine.
And when it does that, it actually alters the chemical and neurological balance of the brain, right?
Exactly. It unites the finite self with the infinite.
Yogi Bhajan uses this metaphor in the text that I found just incredibly striking. He compares the human body to a dead computer.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
Yeah, like we all have the hardware, the brain, the central nervous system, the organs. It's all there, beautifully and perfectly designed.
But without the power source, the computer is useless.
Right. The Kundalini energy is that power source. Without it, the computer can't fully boot up. We are just sitting there, totally disconnected from the ultimate mainframe.
Which really highlights the sheer necessity of the energy. But I think this raises an important question for you, the listener.
Which is?
If this energy is so inherently powerful and necessary, why is it dormant in the first place? Like, why does it need to be awakened through such intensely specific methods?
That's a good point. Why not just have it on all the time?
Well, the text notes that spontaneous Kundalini arousals, which, can sometimes happen accidentally in other meditative practices, they can actually be highly
I
traumatic.
found that part wild. Traumatic in what way? Like somebody meditates too hard and pulls a muscle?
Oh, much deeper than that. We're talking both physically and psychologically traumatic.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because we are talking about high voltage psychic energy. If the physical body and the central nervous system haven't been prepared to handle that kind of electrical current, it can result in severe trauma.
The manual even mentioned permanent mental dysfunction.
Exactly. Think of your nervous system as the physical wiring of your body. If you plug a massive industrial grade power source into standard residential wiring, what happens?
The whole system just melts down.
Right, the wires fry.
So you're saying the exercises in this manual are basically a massive electrical upgrade for the human body.
Precisely. The physical movements, the structured breathing, they aren't just for flexibility or, getting a good sweat.
Right.
They are meticulously designed to upgrade your nervous system's capacity. You are literally thickening the wiring so that it doesn't short circuit when you finally flip the switch and send that massive dormant energy traveling upward.
Which perfectly transitions us from the theory right into the actual physical
The
mechanics.
nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if we have this massive energy sitting at the base of our spines, the manual doesn't just say, uh, think positive thoughts to move it.
No, it provides a very biological mechanism.
Right. And I'll be honest, reading it felt less like a spiritual text and more like an engineering schematic.
It is highly mechanical. The entire process of uncoiling the Kundalini is based on the deliberate manipulation of two specific biological forces within the body.
Prana and apana.
Yes.
I saw those terms flying around constantly in the text. Break that down for us. What are we actually moving here?
So think of them as two distinct energetic currents. Prana is the life force. It's the positive, generating energy.
Okay.
And the manual locates its storage area in a cavity below the eighth vertebra, which is essentially the upper chest area.
And then there's apana.
Right. Apana, on the other hand, is the eliminating force. It's the negative energy located lower down in the pelvic region.
It's associated with releasing what the body no longer needs, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the entire trick of this technology, the whole mechanism, is forcing these two opposing energies to mix.
But how do you mix them? I mean, they're in completely different parts of the body.
You systematically bring the prana down, and you pull the apana up, forcing them to collide at the navel center, right near the fourth vertebra.
Okay.
And when you mix a strong positive and a strong negative force, what happens? You generate immense heat.
The text mentions that this intense internal heat is what literally lights the filament of the central nerve channel.
The Sushumana, yeah.
And once that heat is generated, it puts immense downward pressure on the Kundalini energy,
Yeah.
forcing it to uncoil and rise up that newly lit channel.
That's the exact mechanism.
Wait, I have to stop you there. Are you saying you literally just squeeze specific muscles to force psychic energy upward?
Yes, essentially.
Because the manual introduces this concept of bandhas, which it translates to body locks. It tells you to treat your body like an oil well,
That's my favorite analogy in the whole book.
using literal hydraulic locks to pump this energy out of the ground and up the spine.
The hydraulic metaphor is incredibly accurate to the physical experience. And this is how fundamentally Kundalini differs from standard Western interpretations of yoga.
Right, because if you go to a gym class, yoga is usually about finding a good stretch, lengthening the hamstring, releasing tension.
Exactly. But Kundalini is about creating deliberate, intense internal pressure.
Right, the manual outlines the sequence. First, you apply the root lock, or mopanda,
Which is literally contracting the rectum and sex organs.
to pull that lower apana energy up to the navel. Then you apply the diaphragm lock to push the mixed energy up to the neck,
And finally, the neck lock, the Jalandhara Bandha.
which takes it all the way up into the head to stimulate the pineal gland. I mean, treating the human body like a literal French press coffee maker, just plunging and pressurizing.
What's fascinating here is the actual biology behind that pressure. When you apply those locks, you are physically pressurizing the cerebrospinal fluid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You are forcefully stimulating the glandular system, specifically the pituitary and pineal glands in the brain.
So that explains the physical sensations.
Exactly. This physical pressure explains exactly why practitioners experience such intense euphoric rushes of heat and energy during the exercises.
You aren't just like visualizing light.
No, you are manually forcing your internal chemistry to shift through pressure mechanics.
Okay, so the body is a hydraulic pressure cooker. But the manual is very clear that physical locks and deep breathing are only half the equation.
Right. The physical side isn't enough on its own.
You can't just pump the energy, you have to direct it. And to do that, you have to use the power of the mind and the power of sound.
If the physical locks are the pump pushing the oil up the well, the mind and the sound are the steering wheel and the pipeline determining where that high-octane fuel actually goes.
That makes a lot of sense.
This is where mantras, which are specific sounds, and mudras, which are specific hand gestures, come in.
And the manual insists they are not just symbolic cultural relics.
Not at all. They are functional tools used to focus the chattering mind and seal the physical work you've just done.
Let's look at the Kirtan Kriya, because the text flat out calls this the single most important meditation in Kundalini Yoga.
It really does. It basically says if you only have time to do one thing to keep your brain functioning optimally, this is it.
It uses what's called the Panchi Shabad, the 5 primal sounds. Sa, ta, na, ma.
Right.
The manual translates sa to infinity, ta to life, na to death, and ma to rebirth. And as you chant these sounds, you are doing very specific finger movements.
Those finger movements, the mudras, have a highly specific neurological purpose. The manual says they seal the ego's effect into your consciousness.
Okay, break that down.
So when you chant sa, you press your index finger to your thumb. This is the Gyan mudra, which the text says imparts knowledge.
Got it.
On ta, you press the middle finger to the thumb. That's the Shuni mudra for patience and discipline. On na, it's the ring finger, the Surya mudra for vitality.
And on ma,
The pinky finger, the Buddhi mudra for communication.
it sounds like keyboard shortcuts for the brain. Like you are literally hitting Control-Alt-Delete on your anxiety by pressing specific nerve endings.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. You are physically pressing nerve endings in your fingertips that correspond directly to different areas of the brain.
All while vibrating specific acoustic frequencies in your palate.
Exactly. You are creating a closed neurological loop.
The weirdest part of this specific meditation isn't the fingers, it's the volume.
Oh, the 3 languages.
Yes, the manual describes the 3 languages of consciousness. You start by chanting Satanama out loud, which it calls the language of humans.
Right.
Then you shift to a whisper, the language of lovers. Then you go completely silent, vibrating the sound internally, which is the divine language.
And then you reverse the whole process. Whisper, then out loud again.
Why change the volume? What is the psychological or biological point of making someone whisper and then go silent?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture of how the human brain operates, the manual notes a staggering statistic. The mind generates 1,000 thoughts per wink of an eye.
1,000 thoughts. That's exhausting.
The subconscious is constantly churning. You cannot just sit down on a cushion, close your eyes, and demand that your brain be quiet. The hardware just doesn't work that way.
Right.
The mantras act as a focal point. It's like a piece of meat for the hungry dog of your mind to chew on so it stops barking.
So it's almost like downshifting a manual transmission car. You can't go from 60 miles an hour to 0 instantly without destroying the gearbox. You have to step it down gradually.
Precisely. By shifting the volume from out loud to a whisper to silence, you are creating a descending ladder for your consciousness.
That's a great visual.
When you chant out loud, your physical senses are fully engaged. You hear yourself, you feel your jaw moving.
And then when you drop to a whisper,
You have to concentrate a little harder to maintain the rhythm. The sensory input is reduced.
okay, I see.
By the time you reach total silence, you have slowly tricked the conscious, chattering mind into completely letting go of the external environment.
You've walked your awareness down a staircase until you are meditating at a superconscious cellular level, basically completely detached from the room around you.
Exactly. And we see that same synthesis of sound and physical movement in Sat Kriya too, which the manual calls the most fundamental exercise in the entire practice.
Right, where you sit on your heels, arms stretched straight up above your head, and you chant Sat while forcefully pulling your navel in, and Nam while relaxing it.
Sat Kriya is the perfect encapsulation of the technology. The word Sat is the trigger for the physical lock, moving the apana energy, while the sound frequency of Nam focuses the mind.
The manual states that Sat Kriya alone, done consistently, can completely rechannel your internal energy.
And radically improve your general physical health simply through the rhythmic, intentional fluctuation of blood pressure and glandular stimulation.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we've covered the grand, sweeping mechanics of Kundalini, the hydraulic locks, the ancient 70,000-year lineage, the shifting states of consciousness.
The big picture stuff.
Right. But the manual doesn't just leave you floating in the cosmos with esoteric concepts. It brings all of this down to earth with some incredibly practical, everyday magic.
Tools you can use in the middle of a chaotic Tuesday at the office.
Yes, it is intensely practical. The goal outlined in the text isn't just to be a good meditator who sits in a cave.
No, the goal is to be a highly effective, resilient human being in the modern world.
Case in point, Swara Yoga, or nostril breathing. The text claims you can entirely change your mental state in just 3 minutes, simply by changing which nostril you are breathing through.
This is fascinating stuff.
It says the left nostril is lunar, meaning it has a cooling, calming effect. If you can't sleep, or if you're absolutely furious about an email you just received, you block your right nostril and breathe deeply, only through your left.
And conversely, the right nostril is solar. It gives heat and energy.
Right. So if you're sluggish or feeling fatigued mid-afternoon, you block the left and breathe through the right.
And this isn't just a poetic metaphor about the sun and the moon. The manual teaches that when one nostril is dominant, the opposite hemisphere of the brain is dominant.
Wait, really? How does breathing through one side of your nose physically change your brain?
It connects directly to the autonomic nervous system. Your body naturally goes through a nasal cycle throughout the day, alternating which nostril takes in the most air.
I had no idea.
Yeah. This cycle is linked to your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, energizing state, and your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest, calming state.
So by manually forcing the breath through one specific side for 3 minutes, you are overriding the automatic cycle.
You are literally triggering a different hemisphere of your brain to take dominance.
It's a literal remote control for the human nervous system. You don't need an espresso, you don't need a sleeping pill, you just block a nostril for 3 minutes. That is a massive biological hack.
It really is. And speaking of timing, the manual is very specific about when you should be doing your main practice, your sadhana.
Oh, right. It talks about the ambrosial hours, which it defines as 2.5 hours before sunrise.
The yogis consider this the absolute optimum time for practice, and the reasoning is fascinating.
Because it's quiet.
Well, the text explains that during these early primal hours, the physical air is at its cleanest. But more importantly, from an energetic standpoint, the collective human ambition, greed, anger, and hustle of the world is still slumbering.
Wow. The psychic static of the planet is at its absolute lowest.
Making it infinitely easier to tune your own internal frequency without interference.
The manual actually says that practicing at this time is like having an unlimited spiritual credit card. You bank this immense energy in the quiet of the morning, and then you use it to just cruise through the chaos of your day.
And this leads to one of the most surprising and bold claims in the entire text. It talks about achieving a drugless high.
Right. This is a crucial philosophical point in the manual, because it acknowledges the very real reasons why people turn to recreational drugs or alcohol.
They're looking for euphoria.
Exactly. For relaxation, for sensory delight, for an escape from the relentless, rational, achievement-oriented mind.
But the text says the price of those external substances is always too high. You eventually lose your health, your memory, or your character.
Whereas Kundalini, the manual promises, gives you that exact same intense euphoria, that same expansive sensory connection, but purely through your own internal chemistry.
Without any of the downside.
It's a legal character-building high that leaves you with more control over your nervous system, not less.
Which brings us to the ultimate purpose of utilizing this technology. The goal of Kundalini isn't just to get high on your own biological supply or to do impressive breathing tricks.
The manual outlines 3 levels of human living.
Yes. Most people live at level 1, where life is just a relentless series of problems to be solved.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. Level 2 is an improvement, seeing life as a series of opportunities to be seized. But Kundalini aims for level 3, miraculous living.
Miraculous living. What does that actually look like in practice?
The text argues that consistent practice fine-tunes your intuition and strengthens your electromagnetic field so sharply that you fundamentally stop fighting for what you want.
You just attract it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You transition from a state of desperately manipulating your environment to a state of simply attracting what you need. You elevate your baseline frequency, and the opportunities, the people, the resources you require begin to effortlessly synchronize with your life.
You become a magnet rather than a hunter.
Precisely.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? This deep dive has been a custom-built shortcut through a 70,000-year-old technology.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. We've explored the physical reality of Kundalini energy coiled at the base of the spine, waiting for a spark. We've broken down the literal mechanics of using hydraulic body locks to mix prana and apana, forcing that dormant energy up into the brain.
And we've looked at the psychological genius of Kirtan Kriya, using mudras and shifting sound volumes to walk the conscious mind down a ladder into deep meditation.
And finally, we've seen how intensely practical this is, with everyday biological hacks like switching your nostril breathing to flip your brain's hemisphere in 3 minutes.
Uh-huh.
It is quite literally an instruction manual for the human machine.
And if we accept the manual's premise that the physical body is an intricately designed piece of hardware, one that responds so powerfully to specific sounds, pressures, and rhythms, it leaves us with a profound realization about the modern world.
Definitely.
We just spent this time learning how chanting 4 specific syllables or changing our breathing for 3 minutes can radically heal and alter our nervous system. But it begs the question, if our biology is that sensitive to acoustic frequencies and environmental rhythms, what is the constant ambient noise of modern life doing to our hardware?
That is a terrifying thought.
If a focused chant elevates us, what is an 8-hour daily loop of digital notifications, traffic noise, and artificial alarms doing to our dormant energy on a subliminal level? Are we unintentionally running a chaotic, stressful program on our nervous systems all day long simply because we haven't learned how to operate the control panel?